Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The Titans begin rookie minicamp this weekend at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Head coach Brian Callahan, quarterback Will Levis with press conferences today. In other NFL free agency news, the New York Giants have signed wide receiver Allen Robinson. The 30-year-old was released by the Steelers this offseason. In transfer portal news, former Vanderbilt quarterback Mike Wright reportedly on the move, transferring from Mississippi State to Northwestern for his final year of eligibility per Pete Thamel. Tonight in the NHL, the President's Trophy winning Rangers look to take a 3-0 series lead over the Hurricanes at 6, and the Avalanche and Stars drop the puck in Dallas at 8:30. Avalanche lead 1-0. In the NBA, the Cavs at the Celtics for Game 2 at 6. Celtics lead 1-0, and the Mavericks try to even the series with the Thunder in Oklahoma City. Game 2 at 8:30. Also, Nikola Jokic, the Nuggets star, officially winning MVP for the third time in his career. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Woo, Blaine and Mickey Thursday. We say, do we say arrivederci to Lucas? He just told us he's leaving for his vacation to Italy. What do you say in Italy that's goodbye or good luck or
ciao?
Ciao. Is that hello? Is that like Hawaii where aloha?
I just guessed. Don't go by me.
Don't go by my.
Yeah.
Just sell it. Like you, ciao.
Well, that's exactly what it is, bro.
100%.
Ciao.
100%. Did you know? And we'll just start the show with this. There's plenty of news, but let's start with something you don't want to know. But you should know it. If you just act like you know where you're going, you can go almost anywhere.
What?
All right, you want to hear what goodbye in Italian sounds like?
Sure, let's make some lessons in here.
This is from Google.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
You said that to him.
Yeah.
That was your first
That wasn't
impulse.
me. I didn't say that.
I thought you said that to him.
I did not say it was Jackson that said it on the way out.
Freaking Jackson just nailing his Italian. His DCA. I think he went to DCA. His education popping in there. If you act like you know where you're going, you can go almost anywhere.
You can also say...
What does that mean?
I'll tell you.
Go
ahead.
I'm sorry, we're just talking over each other. You can also say adio.
Adio. Okay. I like both of them.
Yeah, come on. Continue
I can give you multiple instances. I'm the biggest rule follower who ever lived. You've been around me a little bit.
Yeah, you look like a rule follower.
And you'd be like, that tracks.
Yeah, that guy follows rules.
But when it comes to going places, I have been lots of places that I wasn't supposed to be. So the Titans played the Falcons. This has been some time ago in the old, where did they used to play? The thing where the SEC championship was.
Bridgestone?
No, where the Falcons played.
Mercedes-Benz?
The Georgia Dome.
Oh, the Georgia Dome. Yeah.
So we went to see the Titans play the Georgia Dome. Had pretty good tickets, went to the game. When it was over, this is before I worked in the media or anything. I didn't know. I knew Mike Keith, oddly enough, nobody else. But I had a friend who worked for the Titans. He was from Jonesboro, Arkansas. He had a crazy story about how he got a job there. And he still worked for the Titans then. He worked for the Rams later and the Jets and the Chargers. But I said, hey, before we walk to the car, I'm going to go say hi to Casey. And they were like, is he supposed to meet you outside in the parking lot? I said, no, I'm just going to go to where he is. They said, have you got a pass or something?
Yeah, right.
And I said, no. So I started walking. I started paying attention, like where are players' families, where are the fancy cars parked. Saw that. Walked around there. Saw a gate, players' families, obviously like, people in the jersey of people who didn't play. So obviously like friends, relatives, family members. This is where I'm going. So if you don't know this, I have like an unnatural love of Billy White Shoes Johnson. He's a Oilers legend. He also played for Atlanta and had a few nice seasons at the end of his career. If you find somebody to start talking to as they're walking in the building, it looks like you're with them. I see Billy White Shoes Johnson. He worked in community relations for them, and he's walking back into the building. So I just walked up and started talking to him. Mr. White Shoes Johnson. What do you call him? Mr. Shoes, Mr. White Johnson, I didn't know what to call him. So I was like, Mr. Billy White Shoes Johnson, I didn't do this within earshot of the guard. So we're far enough outside the perimeter. All the formalities can be handled between the two of us out of earshot. So by the time we get to the building, we're just two guys talking. I'm with Billy White Shoes Johnson. I've got to be okay.
Did you do that
Yes.
intentionally?
So he's like, hello, how are you?
Time out. So that was coordinated. You meant to talk to Billy White Shoes Johnson at the very time that it would be necessary for you to appear to be in a conversation.
He just happened to be there. It was a bonus to me.
So
I have a picture with him. When we came back out, I took a picture. I have a
That's
picture.
amazing. So then what happened? You get into the building.
So the formalities, and he's like, looking at me like, do I know you? And I was like, hey, man, is this blah, blah, blah. It's great to see you. How is the community relations thing going here? So by this time, we're just having a conversation. And he's just walking.
Yeah.
We just walked straight in past the guards and everybody. So I've been in enough stadiums that I typically know, like, there's a mezzanine level, and it's full of corn dog stands and guys selling beer. And I got to get down a level because the field's always under the ground.
Sure.
So by this time, I'm in. Nobody's saying a word to me. I was like, Mr. Shoes, it was fantastic talking to you. And he's like, are you supposed to be? I was like, yep, supposed to be downstairs.
Was that you, Billy White Shoes Johnson?
Yes. He's like, are you supposed to be in here? I was like, I'm supposed to meet up with some friends with the Titans. I'm from Nashville, as I told you. He's like, okay, well, good luck. So I see an escalator, go down, start walking, find another guy, start walking and talking to him. Walk straight onto the field.
You are kidding.
Walk straight into the tunnel.
Stop it.
All the way to the Titans locker room. The door comes open. Casey is an assistant to like Robbie Boren and to the media guys.
Right.
He's standing by the door. So like the door comes open and I just see him like his, you know how somebody just kind of looks like, and then they look back again and the door closed as he made the second look at me. So he comes out the door.
Of course. How the hell did you get down there?
What are you doing?
Exactly.
I said, I came to see you. He said, how?
Exactly.
In God's name, you don't even have a credential on. I said, I just talked to some friends.
That's amazing how you did that. Well, you do look like the most unassuming dude, though.
I'm the Toyota Camry of people.
Yeah, and
like,
you know what? I bet you had
unassuming.
maybe even a little Jerry Maguire going there, too.
Oh, that you're way too kind.
You see what I'm saying?
No one, I'm 5'0". I'm 100 and nothing. I'm not menacing. I'm literally, if Toyota said, we've created a person who's the equivalent of a Camry, it's me. Nobody chooses a Camry. Nobody dreams of having a Camry. They're not fancy. There's nothing great about them.
That'd be a Tundra.
Maybe you would be. You'd be big and imposing and tough and cool looking. I'm none of those things. And so I'm the Camry. Well, if a Camry's parked somewhere, it doesn't get your attention. You walk right past it.
I don't know. Those sporty versions are pretty sweet.
I'm not the sporty kind. I'm just like the 4-cylinder.
You're the rental.
I'm probably, yeah. I'm the rental that serves its life as a rental and then somebody buys because it's cheap and the seats are all
Why did I go along with that? I'm not buying that. Stop it, man.
Yeah, 100%.
You're definitely a sporty model Camry.
Well,
if you're a Camry buddy, you're a sporty model Camry.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll transition from Storytime to Storytime. Brian Callahan spoke. I guess we're calling him Callie. People did.
I love it.
Teresa
Seriously.
led with a Callie.
She really did. Callie, and it was cool and it fit. And he answered directly straight away to it. Like it was very familiar to him to be called Callie. So I felt that when Teresa Walker did that from the AP, I mean, she's amazing, Hall of Famer here in Tennessee. When she opened the conversation like that, I thought that she clued us in onto some language that we would otherwise not be privy to. Mm-hmm. I felt completely like in the moment. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was there to experience it. That we now call him
And you were there.
Callie.
You were boots on the ground today.
Right over her shoulder when she asked it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just kind of talking about that a little bit, just the vibe that he gives off. You know what the dude is? A head football coach. Mm. And I say that just as bluntly and clearly as I possibly can. He is a head football coach. Maybe his first foray into it, having the control and the bells and whistles, yada, 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 all that good stuff. But I tell you what, the guy, he can flat out coach, and he understands how to use the relationships around him to get the most out of people. And that's the sign of a leader and a good head coach.
I know we were listening to some of this wrap up, and Will Levis was speaking, and I know you were struck by some of the things that he said. We got 2 full hours of this extravaganza to get into all this stuff. But I had written this down already. You had talked about Callahan being a leader. and how impressed you were by the things that he said. And I know there were some things by Levis that stuck out to you as well. I'll tell you one of the things that stuck out to me the most about Callahan, and this is not a knock on Mike Vrabel, but maybe just to let people behind the curtain of how different they are. Tyler Boyd is not, there's been no press release. It'll probably come out today at 3 o'clock. That's when they release stuff, that he was signed to a contract. Maybe they'll put out a graphic on Twitter and a picture. If anyone had asked Vrabel about a player in that situation, he's like, ask me about guys who are here. Ask me about guys who are on the team. And I'm not knocking Mike. That's just how he was. Somebody would always ask, but he'd be like, I read the same thing you guys did. He's not here yet. Brian Callahan said, well, he's not officially here yet, but, and then he went he's a slot receiver. You know, he just gave this glowing account of him. He just went ahead and talked about him.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, Brian Callahan has way more experience than we actually give him credit for, because listening to Bill, his dad, talk about coaching with his son, he reminded us of how many locker rooms Brian actually was in, even as a kid. So he grew up around the sport. He grew up around big personalities. He grew up around people who knew how to talk to them when he was with successful programs. Mm-hmm. When I saw Bill, I actually went over and introduced myself as if he didn't know who I was. And just the grin on his face and the step back and the look at you that he gave me, I thought, oh, this guy remembers me. You know what I mean? And that's been some years, bro, since he actually coached me in a Pro Bowl. The guy was awesome.
Wow.
And
your pass crossed in the Pro Bowl.
Yes, he was
awesome.
My coach.
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
So he remembered me. From all the faces that he's ever coached in life, he remembered mine. I thought that was really, really cool.
Oh, my gosh.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was fun hearing him speak. We got audio from all this stuff that we can get to, and can't wait for you to hear it. Just a lot of eye-opening stuff. A lot of stuff about Treylon Burks, and Callie brought up, we may as well just call him Callie too. I'm a Camry and Callie, Camry. Yeah. Callie talked about Burks and brought him up unprompted and answered questions about him and about Boyd and about free agency. There was something really telling, a couple of things about where they were. He brought up the edge position, and sooner or later they're going to address. Anyway, there was lots of stuff. We'll get to all of it. The only guest we have today is Buck Reising, because it's Buck's day. It's his time. So here's what we'll do. We'll take a break. Buck Reising is going to join us. We got a giveaway coming up later on the show. Pick a ticket offer. We'll be giving that away. You want to spill the beans on that, or just make people guess for now, Joseph?
It's similar to what we gave. Actually, it's exactly what we gave away for Ding Dong of the Week on Monday. So it's a pick your own adventure. Over 5,000 different concerts you could go to with this pair of tickets. So you'll want to call in when Mickey gives the cue.
That's right. So just hold on tight. We'll give you that. Also, shout out to Vandy Man, who says, hey, Mickey, random question. Have you ever gotten that you look like Al Leiter? Like, of course, a younger version. Al Leiter and me are basically the same age. So he's only 3 years older than I am, but I'll very much take younger brother of Al Leiter. I just wish I had his bank account and his arm talent. All right, Buck Reising has a big bank account and tons of arm talent. He will join us next to get his thoughts on what he saw today, what he heard today in his interview with Titans coaches, and also Will Levis, who spoke. We'll hear from Will Levis as well. We got a big show, and we love having you here with us. Shout out to everybody on Zone TV, anybody listening on the Zone app as well, or, of course, all you hardcore radio listeners, thanks to you, too. It's Blaine and Mickey. Special guest Brad Hopkins, again today, as always, brought to you by the good folks at All Four Seasons Garage Doors. All right, we got a big show coming up tomorrow in Murfreesboro at an awesome place called DBAT. And so DBAT, if you haven't heard of it, awesome baseball, softball training facility. I've been to the one in Bowling Green. We did a show up there. Now, tomorrow, we're headed to Murfreesboro. It's 920 Esther Lane. Baseball is huge here. Softball is huge here. You're always looking for a place to get swings in, maybe pick up a lesson, pick up some pointers, pick up some coaches. I know, because I live in this world with my 9-year-old son. Well, guess what? DBAT is the spot. Now, we're going to be there tomorrow. 3HL is going to be there tomorrow. It's 24,000 square feet of climate-controlled batting cages. This is the good stuff, state of the art. Maybe you want to go there. You can actually get a membership. You get discounts on all the clinics and everything that they do. You can also go every day if you want to, if you have the membership. Maybe you just want to go and check it out on your own and do a little look around. Great place to go and get warmed up before your game that night. You go and hit some balls, do training. You can go when the weather's bad, when it's raining, things like that. It's just the perfect spot to get your game on. Here is the address. You can check it out online, dbatmurfreesboro.com, or again, just come see us, hang out with us, 920 Esther Lane. Murfreesboro will be there tomorrow along with 3HL. DBAT, get your game on. Let's go, Blaine and Mickey. B-Hop sitting in for Blaine. We needed a starting left tackle for the show, so he's starting for us this week. Buck Reising is starting as Buck Reising, courtesy of our friends at Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. So, I mean, I got a pretty good left tackle in here with me today. You got to speak to Bill Callahan today, Buck, along with others. How are you feeling about the O-line as a whole and about Latham and about everything now that you were one of a huge scrum of people to hear from Bill Callahan today?
Yeah, B-Hop was over there, too, for a little bit, and I'm sure Brad got a kick out of that many people being gathered around an offensive line coach. It's probably the most popular assistant coach I've ever seen a scrum for, and coming up on this will be my 8th season covering the team. So, I mean, do I feel better about it? No, they can't do anything with them until training camp. So, I don't know, TBD. But I do like to hear them talking about the different angles they're having them work on, the different hand fighting techniques, or I believe he said striking techniques that they're coaching them up on. And yeah, it's all fine. And
Treylon Burks from the younger Callahan, the man we're now calling Callie, Brian Callahan, just said a bunch of fantastic things about the Titans receiver who many people have been wondering about his future.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that means anything about his future one way or the other. I don't know. Do you guys read into that a lot? Because I just hear a new coach saying nice things about a player that's on the roster, and there's no reason to be critical or kind of down on the guy publicly right now. So I don't know. I just kind of shrug my shoulders and say, okay, though, that's nice that he's not. It'd be a bigger story if he was saying, yeah, we're trying to push him as far down the depth chart as humanly possible. But, which of course, they're not going to say in either sense, even if their actions would indicate otherwise.
Well, they'll have 6 guys at least, so it's hard to imagine him not being one of those 6. And we only have 5 days.
Have more than 6, to be honest, Mick.
Yeah, it could be 7 for sure. Be interesting to see. The roster's going to look a lot different, no matter who's on it. Though Buck will be covering it. He's hanging out with us now.
Hey, Buck, when Will Levis took to the podium, him talking about his relationships with his receiving core, having that kind of chemistry to kind of make certain routes happen. You know what I mean? Obviously, within that offense itself. I thought that sounded more like a guy well more mature beyond his years than we were thinking. Could we be seeing the evolution of Will Levis right before our eyes, Buck?
Again, I don't mean to tamp down excitement on all of this stuff. But
yes, you do.
I talked to last year. No. I want to be realistic about it, Brad. Because the thing that was surprising was that he had it last year. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
He got up in front of us. He had that command. You could see it on the sidelines. I think it's a huge part of the reason that, people like DeAndre Hopkins, who are a borderline Hall of Famer at this point in their careers, are looking around and be like, all right, kid's got the juice. We just need to rein him in a little bit and trying to keep him from being too red-faced and screaming and throwing his body around and potentially putting himself in harm's way. But, he's always had that presence about him in front of us, and it doesn't mean anything to win a press conference, but he's always been pretty transparent, which I appreciate. Like today, and I had some people in the league text me about, is he taking a shot at the former coaching staff when he's talking about, guys in the locker room not being very comfortable or guys who weren't comfortable, kind of filling more of the void this year than they were last year, just because of the nature of the environment. I said, no, that's not a shot. That's just an observation and an honest one, which I appreciate, because I've been talking to quarterbacks for the last 8 years that have been actively trying to avoid saying anything even remotely interesting or honest at any given point and at any given turn. So that he's relaxed, that he's comfortable, and I'm sure sometimes they'd rather him say less than more, but he's not giving away any state secrets. I think that's the biggest issue that Titans fans took with the previous administration is, like, this stuff's not that deep for the most part. You're not giving away any scheme. There's no scheme to really give away just yet. I mean, they know in principle the kind of stuff that they're going to want to run, but you haven't really installed anything that you would give away to us at this point. So yeah, you can kind of walk us through the process a little bit, and as close to or as comfortably as you'd like to, while still allowing us to learn more about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I've always appreciated that Levis seems to have that innately.
Yeah, I love his level of transparency that he has with us, just basically kind of giving a look behind the curtain, so to speak. When you're talking about his involvement in not only the just getting better as a quarterback from footwork and things of that nature, they're willing to also listen to things that make him comfortable. He was talking about, Nick Holtz and him and Brian having this kind of symmetry that would allow him to develop. And I guess that's an inside advantage, Buck, that a coach like Brian Callahan would have over a Mike Vrabel, because he is a guy that affects quarterback, which is the most important position on an offense.
Yeah, and to Mike's credit, like he was in every, and some people would say to the detriment, he's in every room. He's trying to learn, or he was trying to learn as much about every position as humanly possible. But, anytime we'd ask him a question about quarterback, whether it was just to get him off, just to get us off his ass or not, was basically to say, I didn't play the quarterback position. I didn't play the left tackle position, so I can't speak to it. And then, if he felt bad enough about the way that he ripped one of us, he might give a more expansive answer. In this situation, this staff is specifically tailored to maximize the quarterback position. Not that Levis ever had any issues relating to Mike, and certainly was one of the loudest voices on locker room cleanout day about bringing Vrabel back. I think that Callahan and what he's going to provide to him beyond just the personal relationship that they'll have, because of course those things are important, but they're almost secondary between a player and a coach. Although that line is never been more blurred than it is right now in today's modern era of player-coach dynamic. I think he's going to get, I think they're both going to get a lot out of this moving forward. At least that's the hope, because Will Levis is going to be judged not just by his success, but he's going to have Brian Callahan judged by his success as well. So they're the two and their future here together are very, very, they're inextricably linked.
He is the man that plants Lucas Panzica in the studio while he gallivants around town, Mr. Buck Reising.
So, Buck, we've asked you about some things that caught our attention. What caught your attention? You got to speak to multiple assistants. You heard from the head coach. You heard from the quarterback. What stood out to you today as you were walking around with your phone?
That Bill Callahan wasn't initially keen on working for his son the last time he was interviewing for head coaching jobs.
Yeah, that's what B-Hop told me first thing when he saw me.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Now, famously, his son did not get a coaching job, so, easy to do that in retrospect. But I think where the Browns were and the level of competitiveness, what they were working for, honestly, I like hearing that from Bill Callahan, because it means that he wasn't just willing to pick up and move from what Cleveland was trying to build and work towards just because his son might get a head coaching job. Now, if his son had gotten a job, maybe we're having a different conversation, but you can't do that in retrospect. And also the idea that Bill said, I could do anything that I want right now. I could be on the golf course if I wanted to right now, but I'm here to help the Titans win a championship, which of course is just playing all the right notes for the guy who Titans fans are already head over heels for. The rest of it, Zach Woodfin. Honestly, by far and away, if Callahan was 1A, Bill Callahan was 1A today, Zach Woodfin, the new director of sports performance, is 1B. And I think there's a contingent of Titans fans that would argue that he is more important than Bill Callahan for the just disaster that this roster has been health-wise for. I don't know. We're coming up on 3 seasons. 21 was a nightmare. 22 wasn't much better. And 23, they just kind of limped across the finish line with whatever they had left on the depth chart. So they were out of contention by then, so there were some players that might have been getting more reps had they been closer to actually getting a wild card or potentially a division, but they weren't. So Zach Woodfin, listening to him talking about basically speaking to us like sports science for dummies, right? Walking us through the asymmetries and how they're able to identify them in players and their movement and how much that can impact their performance. And he used an example of one that they use specifically to identify how guys' hamstrings react to certain kind of movements. And that's all positionally specific. But, in going back to Malarkey and through Vrabel, I don't ever remember getting the director of sports performance at the same time that we got the assistant coaches. And I'm sure that was done intentionally, because that's, outside of the quarterback and is he the guy or not, is that not the second biggest question about this franchise and its current collection of parts? Is can they keep them healthy enough? What was being done or what was not being done under previous administrations that made this thing such an unholy nightmare by the end of the regular season, and really not even by the end of the regular season, basically the entirety of the time throughout. They weren't ever going to comment on what the previous staff did last year, nor could they because they weren't most of them in the building, although they do have some holdovers. But they're able to use those holdovers to kind of bring this thing along further with some new techniques, some new. I believe he cited several studies that he was implementing on how they go about basically research and development for the training protocols that they put in place, and just generally the scientific nature of it. I don't have a degree in sports science, so again, I'm just sitting there wide-eyed listening to this person talk about all these different things that I would like to know more about, that I think are important for people to know more about. But really, we've never had that kind of access to simply ask the questions.
Yeah, for sure. Well, today we're asking questions of Buck Reising. We get access to him every week, Brad. Works out great.
We sure do.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, having availability of also some other assistants like Frank Bush, who actually wore the helmet, like Steve Jackson. These are coaches on the defensive side of the football that are going to require a lot of attention for what their task is, Buck, right? Getting these guys in the right position, some of them veterans, like a little Jerry Sneed, like a Chidobe Awuzie, these kind of dudes. What are your thoughts basically of their influence on obviously the defense that Denard Wilson is trying to employ?
Yeah, I think so. I talked to Frank Bush for a little bit, caught up with Chris Harris just less formally because he's one of the holdovers from the previous staff, and just kind of picking his brain on some things because famously his cornerback room has been very much revamped, and the biggest part that I enjoyed, or the most enjoyable part for me, given that I have not previously covered him, but I know Titans fans and Vols fans, and frankly, if you're a Georgia football fan, you're intimately familiar with Tracy Rocker. Hell, if you're a Vanderbilt baseball fan, you're probably intimately familiar with Tracy Rocker, and kind of understanding more about why he's such an important presence here, not just for the development of T'Vondre Sweat and the example that they're trying to set for him to get the best out of that particular player, but his influence at every level, his influence on the coaching staff, his influence on the front office and the personnel decisions that they've made. I really enjoyed kind of just learning more about how he goes through his day-to-day, his process.
You know what? I was listening to you and Lucas, and you asked the question, who is the most interesting rookie to watch, and why is it T'Vondre Sweat? I got a chuckle out of that. But, I started listening to, some of the role that we have of him, talking to the media after he got drafted. I think that he recognizes how unique and special he actually is. So he may be, in the second round, kind of a steal of the draft if he becomes a Hall of Famer type, which is what he's thinking.
Sure. There's no question. The young man is not lacking confidence. There's no disputing that he understands what kind of special he has been at the collegiate level. The question is, B-Hop, is whether he recognizes that that's not where it stops, right? And we have no idea. There's videos out there of him on social media afterwards, after the draft, working out with fellow Texas draftees at their sports performance center in Austin. And just basically somebody taking a camera around to each of the guys that was drafted, be like, hey, why do you think it's important to be out here working? Why do you think it's important to be out here working? So he clearly understands the gravity of the situation that's in front of him and how big this moment is. Because, somebody would have taken a chance on him, right? He's a talented enough player to where you could have talked about him as a borderline first-round pick. The weight situation is not insignificant in the DWI. The month of the draft, 2 weeks before the draft, and basically 2 days before he was scheduled to have a 30 visit with this team, is not insignificant. But they have given him their vote of confidence. Now it's incumbent upon him to repay that and to show that it can pay dividends, that investment that they've been willing to make in him. I've watched him at Texas. Obviously, we've all seen Texas football games. They're on television too often to not. But you're not often honed in on the 300 and depending on when you talk to him, 390 or 360 pound defensive tackle that's in there making moves. But he's a hell of an athlete for anybody, not just a person that size, and the impact that he should be able to and should be expected to immediately have on this defense. I think you're going to feel the ripple effects of that right away, provided that he didn't eat himself out of the league.
He's doing reconnaissance for the Blaine and Mickey Show. He is Buck Reising.
He is the one and only. Thoughts on the Boyd signing, Buck? That was obviously happened after we had you on last week. Just thoughts on this addition to the Titans wide receiver room.
get the quarterback the most veteran, experienced, and confident collection of starting skill position talent that you can, and then let him grow and develop as a result. I loved it. It's going to help teach the other guys the offense. I know Levis was talking today about already texting. He kept calling him TB. I was like, surely he's not talking about Tom Brady. Tyler Boyd texting, although he does have a relationship with Tom Brady, Will Levis, so, I guess it's not beyond the pale. Texting Tyler Boyd about learning the Cincinnati offense from him, not, getting him in here so that they can learn the Titans offense, because the Titans offense is the Bengals offense at this point. And they're creating Cincinnati 2.0 here. Now, Levis is not Burrow. So there's going to be some differences, and their personnel is not, one for one, a parallel, but sure as hell the skill position talent is. If not better for what Chig should and could be. So I'm looking forward to seeing how all those parts and pieces work together, but in particular, I think that Tyler Boyd is a great thing for the Titans. I think it's a not great thing for somebody like Kyle Phillips, whose roster spot was already pretty tenuous. And now you've got not just Jaquan Jackson pushing you on the outside, but Tyler Boyd, who's, going to come in and do your day one slot.
So you mentioned, I think even at the start of the phone call, this is eighth season to cover these guys. We had Monday, the F&M Bank Chat was just full of people saying, best offseason of my lifetime, most exciting offseason of my lifetime. Of your 8 years here, where would you create, or where would you rate the hype level of this offseason and what they've done?
The off-season hype at the top for sure, because they've never had this much money to spend. I was talking to Lawan about this. I don't know. It's been since free agency, before the draft, I want to say. But his whole point of contention was, I was there for 8 years, and I don't think they signed a day one free agent once while I was there. So, they're spending at the top of the market. They're spending on the players who are the best at their position in the market, and they're doing it on the offensive side of the football, which is exactly everything that I've been led to believe that the Tennessee Titans organization is about. And not just my 8 years, but in, everything that I know about the franchise and its kind of ethos. Now, B-Hop was with us yesterday on the radio show, and he brought up, the idea that that's who the Oilers were before the Tennessee Titans kind of took on this ground and pound defense first, maybe not defense first, but tough-minded defense, hard-nosed running game because of the personnel that they had. And, of course, that's accurate. You live long enough, you see these things go through cycles. But in an off-season of hype, there has never been a more hyped off-season than this one. Even because heading into 21, it was just Julio, right? Mm-hmm. And then Julio got here, and Julio wasn't washed, but his hamstrings were. And all of your best laid plans just kind of went to bleep because, Derrick Henry is done for the year. Now we have Titans legend Adrian Peterson running the football against the Seattle Seahawks. All right, A.J. Brown's still here, but he's going to miss some time. And then, I can't remember the exact snap count, but I want to say it was less than 200 total snaps that Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Julio Jones were actually on the field together in that 2021 season. So off-season hype, the bottom can fall out real quick. But this is a more hype off-season than that one, even though that team will probably end up being better or having more success in a regular season than this 2024 team will. They're just not there yet.
But great stuff. What's coming up on the Buck Reising show tomorrow so people can already set alarms so they don't miss 1 second of it?
Oh, well, this is probably going to be a reason for people to turn it off, but we sent Lucas's ass to Italy, so it's just you and me for 3 hours tomorrow, baby. We're getting back to our roots. It's going to be a great time.
Oh, boy. I'm sure Lucas will have a way to, have hologram Lucas or something sit in for at least part of the show. He's crafty like that. Buck, thank you. We'll let you start prepping for 3 hours by yourself tomorrow.
Thanks, Buck.
Yeah, prep. See you, boys.
Yes, Two Rivers Ford's own Buck Reising. All right, we'll come back. He brought up seeing Sweat on the field and his excitement level. What did you say his question was? Who's the most exciting player for rookie minicamp, and why is it T'Vondre Sweat? What did his position coach say about T'Vondre Sweat? Tracy Rocker was asked about the Titans rookie defensive lineman today. Let's hear from him. We'll do that next right here on Blaine and Mickey with special guest host B-Hop, and always powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
So, Tennessee, are you ready to embrace spring with confidence? Give Cool Ray a call today and let's make this season a breeze. Get $1,500 off select whole home generators and ensure your family's comfort and safety. We'll also pay you to upgrade. Get $1,000 when you upgrade to your HVAC system with Cool Ray. And try our $49 tune-up and refresh for your system and beat allergy seasons with 10% off indoor air quality products. So let the experts at Cool Ray clear your drain for $93 or you won't be charged. We're your partner in comfort, no matter the season. So here's to a spring filled with sunshine, smiles, and stress-free living. Cool Ray, keeping Tennessee cool, plumbing right, and lights bright.
Blaine and Mickey, B-Hop hanging out for Blaine. We should just leave this beat running under the show for 2 hours a day. What if that was just part of what we did?
That was our theme music?
If it just ran under the show.
Billie Jean.
What kind of bounce you'd have over this bass line.
So our conversation would just kind of like flow as Michael Jackson's Billie Jean was just in the background.
Almost lyrically.
We were talking about the secondary and development of Will Levis. While this why are you...
Yeah.
Is that how you're going to respond to how I'm talking?
I think you need to write like a Zone remix of Billie Jean.
Woo! Nobody can hear this online, right? No one can hear this. It's just me yelling hee and woo. Okay. Yeah. That's going to turn into a drop.
See, out of context.
No, it won't.
Out of context,
I
you
can
look
pull it out
crazy.
the music.
I'm going to... What did Will Smith do to people in the gut?
Yeah, erase their memory?
Yes, I just hit Joseph with that. We all remember T'Vondre Sweat getting drafted, and we remember the response from lots of people. There were lots of comments about weight, work ethic, and the trouble he got in the night before he came here to visit. But Tracy Rocker is the D-line coach for the Titans. He'll be the guy who's charged with working with him and getting him coached up. And he was asked the video was making the rounds, not the question, but I think it was essentially about working with a bigger player and managing their weight and managing them and just making sure that they're in tip-top condition to play, I believe, is the vibe of it based on the answer. But here is defensive line coach Tracy Rocker on T'Vondre Sweat.
All of that in place. I mean, we have things in place, and it'll be more of that done. And hey, it ain't easy. You know, I'm a big man. I got a big child, big son rather. And you know, it's part of growth. We all been there, so it's part of growing. And the biggest thing is get him in the right point, get him going in the right direction, make it a positive way instead of a negative way, and knowing that he can help this team and then make others around him very good, and him also being a very special player.
That audio courtesy of the one and only Buck Reising. He was able to harvest that from Rocker. You know, there are concerns about him, Brad, about his weight. And for most people, it's like, well, even if he's carrying too much weight, gosh, for the first 2 downs of a series on first and second down, he can be that run stuffer and take on 2 guys and free up Big Jeff. But the hope is, and his, I think you were talking about this earlier, his quote was, if I get to 350, 355, I'm a Hall of Famer. He just offered that up to the media, you know, when he was interviewed on draft night. He said that like I would say, I think I'm going to get a Coke float on the way home. Yeah. If I can get out of here quick enough, I'm getting he said, I'll be a Hall of Famer if I'm 350.
Yeah, that's not a stretch either. And the only reason why I say that is because a talented player with the motor to match is an unbelievable prospect. And what I mean by that is we know how athletic and disruptive he can be from his collegiate career, correct? But when you're talking about being able to do it over and over and over and very rarely leave the field, now you're establishing your presence. Now you're establishing your dominance. But you have to be in shape to be able to do that. So coming from a guy that was 346 pounds when I was playing at one point, I didn't realize what I didn't know until I started losing weight. Because if I can finish the fourth quarter at the same pace that I'm starting the first quarter, fatigue is going to make a coward of most of us, right? So you're going to not play at a certain level if you're tired and thinking about it. But if you're that guy, like Oregon's offensive lines used to do, run you straight ragged to where you just don't even want to put your hands down because it just exerts that much more energy to then lurch forward after that. We're pounding on you because we're in shape. Our heart rate is at a nice, comfortable level because we're used to doing these things. So one thing is going to happen. If he is in shape, Mickey, he will lose weight. Okay? So the goal being to get to where recovery is not an issue for him. And that's the difference. Because when people say that you could have been, more amazing than you actually are, they're saying that you left some meat on the bone. Yeah. You could have played harder in some instances, but maybe because you were tired, you weren't able to play consistently at those levels. Trust me, I know. You know what I mean? Then as I was at 1.346. When I finished the game in year 13, I was 285. Yeah. So I was going way off of what I learned versus, how physically dominant I could be. Because admittedly, I was stronger at 346 pounds. But boy, I didn't know how fatigued I actually was until you start playing at a range like around year 8, 9, and 10. And you're just like, it's a game. It's nothing because your body's conditioned.
Right. what was your ideal weight? Like when you remember, I'm this weight, I'm gold.
Here, you want to know my ideal weight is? What I'm sitting at right now, 250 pounds. Listen.
Well, I got
roped
playing weight.
I got roped into this whole deal, bro. You got to remember, I got my scholarship as a tight end.
Yes.
And I ate my way to tackle. You know, I'm saying, I didn't realize that the offensive line coach was looking over my shoulder, wringing his hands like, yes.
Like Mr. Burns.
Bring me that buttery butt boy over there. I'm going to make a tackle out of him yet. And, you know, I just moved without fighting anybody about what I was doing. I just remember calling my dad. Hey, Dad, you know they moved me to left tackle. He's like, oh, okay. What's it like you see in the field? I was like, they're not redshirting me. Ooh. I was like, wow, okay. So I'm sitting there backing up an All-American. If he goes down, guess who goes in? This fat buttery boy from Moline that was playing tight end the season before. You know? And then I had a stress fracture my sophomore year, so I redshirted that sophomore year. And then I was like all-conference the next 3 years.
Oh, man. What's the hardest food for you to give up?
Burgers, bro. Burgers. Oh. It's not even a thought, man.
How good
a hamburger?
Are burgers?
Oh, you get me giddy just thinking about some of the delicious hamburgers I've had.
What was your go-to, like, on the burger? I'm not trying to get you to backslide here, but
yeah, right. Sauteed onions, bro. Sauteed onions on a burger with some barbecue sauce, and just go ahead and throw on a slab of bacon too. You know?
Oh man,
you just stop it already.
Well, people know where we are. Drop a couple of those off by the station.
Why would you do that?
I'll eat yours if you don't want to. All right, hour number 2 coming up. B-Hop hanging out for Blaine. Callahan did a lot of talking. He talked about the addition of Boyd. It's like, well, I can't really talk about him because he's not here. But then he talked about him. And he talked about Burks' role. And don't let Buck poo-poo in it earlier make you think that he didn't give a glowing review of Burks. We'll play you all that in hour number 2. And you want to hear this. And also, we got tickets to give away. And there's just no real reason for you to miss hour number 2 of this show. So come on back for more Blaine and Mickey and B-Hop, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. All right, you know I love stats and numbers. I love them, as Blaine likes to say. They don't tell the whole story, but I do like the part of the story that they tell. And here's a stat that you need to know. Over the past 20 years, there's a stat that testosterone is dropping in men way earlier than it used to. So it used to be 50s, could be 40s, 30s, could even be 20s. How do you know that? Well, you don't have like a gas gauge, on your shirt pocket or anything that tells you. You got to go get checked. You got to go to Edge Peptide. Now, they're going to check other things too, vitamin levels and all kinds of stuff. And you know that you need to go see Edge Peptide because you're not feeling like yourself. You're tired, you're grumpy, you're grouchy, you're hard to deal with. Maybe your significant other's telling you how hard you are to deal with. It could be your workout not hitting the way you want it to. Could be your love life not loving the way you want it to. Could be any number of things. So what you need to do is call Edge Peptide and make an appointment. That's what I did. They got testosterone therapy for $99 if you need it. If you need something else, they'll figure that out. So go to edgepeptide.com or call them now, 615-724-1878. Schedule an appointment today with Edge Peptide and feel like you want to feel.
Good afternoon. It is 2 o'clock. I'm Joe Spinano. The Tennessee Titans opened up rookie minicamp with head coach Brian Callahan and starting quarterback Will Levis meeting with the media earlier today. Callahan was asked about adding more players for positions of need via free agency and mentioned a specific position that the team is going to try and attack.
There's definitely room to add. Free agency isn't over, so we're looking to add an edge down there. We need guys that can play with some physicality. They look and sound like Denard. That's what we're looking for. There's an area for a veteran presence there. We're still exploring those options, and that'll hopefully get resolved sometime sooner than later.
Will Levis was asked about what we should expect from the Titans' new offense under new head coach Brian Callahan.
A lot of drop back game in situations where we might not have seen that last year, so that was cool. So being able to throw the ball a little bit more, but him making a point to me like, hey, we're gonna throw the ball. We're gonna throw the ball on first down. We're gonna throw the ball in all types of situations, and it's gonna be on you, and we're gonna trust you to do it. So.
Turning over to the NBA playoffs tonight in playoff action, it's the Cavs and the Celtics getting set for the East semifinals Game 2. Boston leads that series 1-0. And then over in the West semifinals, Game 2 between the Thunder and the Mavericks is getting set. OKC leads that one 1-0. Over in the NHL playoffs, the Rangers and the Hurricanes play Game 3 of their Eastern Round 2 tonight. New York leads that series 2-0. And then over in the West second round, it's Game 2 between the Avalanche and the Stars. Colorado has a 1-0 advantage. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Balls. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Let's go. Hour number 2 of Blaine and Mickey B-Hop. Brad Hopkins sitting in for the Hitman again today, and then tomorrow we'll be at DBAT in Murfreesboro. It's a beautiful baseball, softball training facility. You can come by and see us. You can bring your 72 jersey by and get it signed. How cool would that be? People just walked in and was like, hey, man, I've been holding on to this to get you to sign it.
Stop.
Just walk it in and sign it and just...
That'd be so cool.
I would love it. I hope 10 people do that tomorrow.
That'd
10
be awesome.
people.
You guys going to go hit in the cages?
B-Hop, I don't think the cages can hold the bombs he's going to hit.
No, my swing is very ugly. I love watching baseball because my son played at Division I level.
Yeah.
And it was awesome watching him do battle at Indiana. It was watching him hit a walk-off home run to beat my alma mater. Isn't that crazy?
Woo!
Watching him do that. But I never really understood the game of baseball until I started watching it through his lens. Mm-hmm. Now, I love it. I do love baseball and watching it, but getting in the box and doing some athletic stuff on the baseball field, it's just not my thing.
I've pitched more and thrown more, and I've done a lot more baseball than anybody my age is probably doing right now because I have a 9-year-old son who plays. But I don't know how my swing or anything would look. Mostly I just throw it to him and he hits it.
So what we need tomorrow is we need Mickey behind the L screen throwing to B-Hop. And let's see if you can strike him out, or if B-Hop can win and get a hit off the mixter.
Well, I'm not like Nuke LaLoosh. I can't bring the heat anymore. So,
you have to throw him
hold on a second. You have some baseball in your background or something?
I played till I was in high school, yeah.
Oh, snap. And you were on the mound?
No, I only pitched as a little kid. I pitched to my son is what I'm saying. Hey, Dad, let's go to the field.
I'm throwing everything you throw across. I'm crushing everything you throw across the mound.
100% you are. There's no movement. It's just going to be like, what does my son call them? Cookies. Yeah, you'd be getting cookies from me.
I'll teach you what my slider in high school was.
Is this the thing that got hit out of Rutherford County?
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a video.
Did you play, Joseph?
I did through high school, yes.
Were you any good?
No. I could not hit worth anything. I was a decent fielder in the outfield because I had some quickness to me. So I had a decent glove. I could track the ball. Couldn't do anything at the plate. I could bunt. I was good at bunting. But, you don't really want a guy in your starting lineup to bunt 3 times. But anyways, and then I pitched in my last 2 years of high school. And I have a video on my phone. I showed Blaine and Mickey this of my first appearance my senior year, and I gave up a home run to left field. So I'm gonna teach Mickey the pitch that that home run was hit off
Maybe
of.
teach me another one. Yeah.
Yeah, about to say, you might want to give him something else.
Because I don't know what size that park was, but it might have taken Yellowstone Park to hold that one.
I had a pretty decent changeup. My slider was nothing. I didn't have a curveball, and my fastball was mid-70s.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
He's not giving himself a glorious scouting
I did
report.
not have a very glorious high school baseball career.
You know what? You did your best. That's all you can do. I mean, that's for the rest of us who aren't professional people. I tried to explain this to my kids. My daughter's graduating high school. She's not athletic, but she's like a choir person, a great singer. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for what's next. I said, I get that, but you're never going to be around this group of people again. You know, your team is the choir. It's the people in music that you deal with on a day. You're never going to be around your team again. You won't see them. They'll go to their own colleges. They'll move away. Even though they're here, you'll be too busy to get with them. And then you'll try to see them at Christmas and you won't because you'll be too busy then. You got to take it all in with your team. Again, her team is music. My team was baseball or tennis or whatever I was playing at the time. You know, you had football. I imagine you were a basketball player. You had basketball. For most of us, that's the end of us being on a team. You know, you could play church league. It's not the same. You play rec league softball or kickball or something. It's not the same. You know, where you're really trying to win and lose and you're looking at in that case for high school, it's a lot of times your best friends in the world. You get to be on a team with all your best friends. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah. I miss the days of like travel baseball and like going to like different cities to play. You play like 4 games within 2 days, and then you're trying to compete for that Sunday. I miss that a ton, but
you know, I played 3 things during this year in high school: football, basketball, and band. So if you think about it, band is just as much a team dynamic as football is.
100%. And they practice in the summertime in the sun. Yeah. What was your instrument?
Well, I was a tuba player.
Oh.
But the thing is, it wasn't just really the marching and parades and doing things like that. It was like we took band as a class.
Yeah.
You know, during the school year. And we would learn so much about music and playing with each other. You know, from the horn section to the flute section to the clarinets, and you got the drums, of course, and the trombones and just the baritone section. And all of these had to play in unison to make a beautiful song. You know what I mean? So in a team dynamic, we relied on each other much like we do, say, on an offensive line.
Sure.
Right? But we're just not creating the same kind of music. But the thing also is it's not as finite as you're talking about with football. And eventually you can't compete, you know, very long without hurting yourself, you know, or just aging out. But guess what? The things that I learned as a band member in high school, I could still be a part of today. I mean, I could be a part of some traveling, you know, quartet or something with a bass player, right?
Absolutely.
I could still do that today.
Sure.
Mickey, that was a hint at you.
That we're starting a quartet with 2 of us, a duo.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
You got the bass player and then the tuba player.
We got the
What do you do, Jay? What do you do, JB?
I told you yesterday, I'll play the triangle.
His nose is an instrument. He can pick it or blow it.
Ba-doom-ts.
Yeah, thank you. I heard that years ago from a country
You
preacher.
couldn't wait to use that either, could you?
Seriously, I've been carrying that around since like 81, I think. Titans are trying to get their band together, and today we heard from the head coach. We heard from assistant coaches. We had Buck Reising on. The person he was most excited to hear from was a strength and conditioning coach. I don't even know if we had any of that video that we found, Joseph, but Buck
I can get one.
But Buck was super excited to hear from him, and a guy talking about hamstrings and how different positions use hamstrings, and Buck was super excited about that. You and I talked about some of the things we were excited about. We were listening to Will Levis together, and one of the things that he brought up was, by the time we come back in the fall, I want to know the offense so well that I can teach it. And I was just watching you because I try to be observant, and you were like, you're writing notes over there. But I know that's something that stood out to you. A young quarterback, second year, he's trying to find his way, but he wants to learn this new offense so well that he can teach it.
Yeah, it linked to the conversation we were having about symmetry with Brian Callahan and Nick Holtz, the offensive coordinator. And I include all 3 of them, of course, the quarterback's coach too, just in people that are involved with developing this young quarterback. And the fact that he can have input, you know, the fact that he can also take constructive criticism about footwork and things that would make a throw more efficient, right? Instead of just doing a bunch of stuff, he's able to then kind of talk about it and customize, if you will, an offense that kind of suits his skill set. So I like that dialogue that they're having. And listening to him talk about that, that was the transparency I was talking about.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he's willing to give us some insight into how that relationship works. So it sounds like he's excited to learn and grow in this offense that he knows he has a hand in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also gives you ownership. If you think about that. I'm now able to contribute and say something that would affect my ability to do this play. So therefore, I have no excuse to not accomplish what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a part of this conversation too. So the fact that they're all having this moment where they're recognizing at least where they should be using Will Levis and how they should be using Will Levis, especially given the fact, Mickey, that they went out and so aggressively found him targets to work with, man. It's hard to not get excited when you think about that potential, especially after having listened to, Brian Callahan himself and some of his assistants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just only imagining as confident as they sound in the way the things that they're expressing to us. I can only imagine how that message gets sent to the guys that are actually doing this stuff.
And you mentioned the footwork thing. Wasn't it Levis who said, there's a play that we were going through, and I thought maybe there was too much footwork on the play.
Yeah.
A play action. I think he was talking about a play action where he thought that he wanted to be more stand still.
Yes.
And Callahan was like, yeah, I think we can work with that.
Yeah, think about that, though. Instead of saying, no, that's not the way Joe did it.
Right.
It's not the way we're going to do it down here. You're going to do it exactly how we saw Joe do it. I showed you that on the tape, right? No,
right.
It's not like that. He's like, what? If you think about it, okay, how much more movement is that actually, and how will it affect the play? If he feels that it's a little uncomfortable, a little cumbersome, then why not just delete some things and see if it works? And guess what? He's willing to at least say, hey, you know what? Let's try it. If it don't work, then guess what? We tried it, and we're moving on.
Exactly. But at least I'm going to listen to you enough to say, sure, we can try that.
Right, exactly.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Phone line's open. Kenny, the mailman, wants to jump in, 615-737-1045. You can jump in with him. What stood out to you today that you heard from Will Levis, from Callahan, from any of the assistants? They spoke earlier. Tomorrow we will hear from Callahan and select rookie players. We'll be able to play some of that during the show, I do believe, live tomorrow. And we're at DBAT in Murfreesboro, so we're looking forward to that. Talking about Will Levis and working with Callahan, there was something that Callahan talked about working with Will Levis on. And I know you know what I'm talking about, Joseph, because we were listening, kind of nodded at each other and made a note of that. We'll play that for you. We'll also get into Callahan on Boyd. And where does Treylon Burks stand with all this? What did the head coach say about him today? You all been wondering. You all been around the water cooler at work, and you've been talking about it. What did the head coach say about Treylon Burks? We'll get to that, and we even have tickets to give away. This train just keeps on a-rolling. Next, B-Hop hanging out with Mickey, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on Blaine and Mickey. So as you drive around Nashville, you see billboards, right? Probably the most memorable billboards are the WeGrowHair.com billboards, because there's a person on the left and a person on the right, and it's the same person, but they don't look like the same person because the person on the right has hair and the person on the left doesn't have hair. And that's the whole idea of the billboard. So it's a jarring image to you, because if you're a person who doesn't have hair, and that makes you picture yourself as a person who has hair, because that person was a person who went to WeGrowHair.com, and then that person got their hair back because they were smart enough to do it. Then you see the before and after pictures, and it's jarring because you think, gosh, what if I did that? But then you just keep driving and you don't do it. Stop what you're doing. Stop that. Call them today. Make an appointment. First appointment is free at PAI Medical, WeGrowHair.com. And they'll take some pictures, and they'll just explain some stuff to you. And they'll explain to you, here's the way you can get to where you want to be, and here's how you can pay for it. It's super simple. And man, wouldn't it be cool to be the person on the billboard with all your hair back? You don't even have to do the billboard. You could just be the good-looking person with their hair back. So call them today. PAI Medical Group, WeGrowHair.com, 615-376-6010.
So many people trust Two Rivers Ford. Football players, working moms, business owners. Why? Because Two Rivers Ford has been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Maybe we were born to do Blaine and Mickey. Brad Hopp hanging out for the Hitman today. You want to talk Titans or anything, you can jump in line, 615-737-1045. We still haven't even tapped into the expert offensive lineman that we've got to get his thoughts about what he's seeing offensive line-wise. So that could happen today. If not, it will happen tomorrow for sure. But right now, let's talk to Kenny, the mailman, who jumps into the mix. Hello, Kenny.
Hello, good friends. I wanted to tell you something I wanted to hear from a Titan player, but I hadn't heard yet. But first, y'all both absolutely love music and have a music background. Listen to my wife's greatest gift to her parents. 35 years after playing her last high school note in a band, been playing band all her life, she secretly got her clarinet out, practiced and practiced. With two of my sons, joined a community band, didn't tell anyone, invited me and her parents there. We thought we were going out to eat. And she came out on the stage holding the very clarinet her mother and dad had worked extra to pay for and played for them. And it's just the look on their faces. I'm telling you, we need to respect music more. There's something about music, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's ingrained in everything that we do, Kenny, in some form or fashion. It's our inspiration. It's our focus. It's so intertwined.
That's how I got here in the first place.
Yeah, it's definitely a team. I didn't respect it as much till I started having kids play it. Yeah, they do have that team feeling.
I had a tuba solo with my grandmother in the audience. It was the best thing ever.
She loved
Amazing Grace.
Oh my gosh. She talked about that.
Man, that
forever.
Is super cool.
Yes, sir.
Well, something I'd love to hear a Titans player say, and it's the second-round draft pick. I wish early he would be wise enough to listen to people and say, I'm going to hire my own nutritionist and chef, living chef, to cook every meal for me, because If he just switched to grilled food, vegetables, cut out a lot of 5 extra desserts and sugar drinks, he can. Instead of just saying he could be great, he could be. But a lot of people don't realize you have to pay a price. You have to give something up to get to the greatest. And one of the players I wished, and I know you know him, Brad, you could speak to this, if Albert Hainsworth had did things like that, he would have been one of the top 10 best ever. Listen, great to talk to y'all today.
See you, Kenny.
I appreciate the phone call.
Thanks for sharing, bro.
We had one of the best seasons ever any of us have ever seen, Albert.
Yeah, but the thing is, the thing that he used to his advantage was size.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to have it on the right way, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Albert might have been heavy, but think of how disruptive he was at that size. You see Albert nowadays when he's about town, he's probably 2/3 of the guy that he was when he played the game, and he looks great. But think about how much of that he needed to have the impact that he did in the middle. And you think about Tavondre and Jeffrey. If Tavondre thinks that about himself, and we already know Big Jeff is the dude, what in the heck are we talking about up front? Are these some monsters? Some trained killers that we have in the division that can help? I mean, I'm just saying, the potential is there, especially when you hear a young guy speak so confidently about his ability to contribute. You know what I mean? Especially a Hall of Famer, bro. Oh, are we just throwing this around nowadays, Mickey? Everybody's a Hall of Famer.
He said it
Everybody's
about
a Hall
himself.
of Famer. You see what I'm saying? Is it just that, like, do we then need to establish another criteria? Super Hall of Famers? You know what I mean? So since we're all just Hall
First
of Famers.
ballot, yeah.
Yeah, first. That's the validating. Yeah, the first ballot
first
whole
ballot
thing.
Hall of
Yeah, ain't
Famer.
first ballot.
Yeah.
But point is, and that's a great, a tip there about the diet, right? But essentially, he's not a kid anymore playing at that level. Now his sole job is to be in his best condition as he can be in, best strength that he can be in, to be able to use his physical attributes as long as he can. He's wasting money if he doesn't. So I would imagine just that understanding at the different level he's playing at now is going to take some sort of precedence to allow him to continue a routine, a regime that would allow him to not let weight be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it does take what it took for me? It took for me getting pneumonia, bro, and playing 3 games with pneumonia, not knowing I had it. I thought I had just I couldn't buck the flu. Finally went in and they said, bro, you got acute pneumonia. I lost 25 pounds.
Oh, my gosh.
But the thing is, I came back 25 pounds lighter, and I'm thinking, man, first off, are those my toes?
Look how fast I am. Yes.
You know
I'm
what I'm saying?
explosive.
And next thing you know, they finally saw me going back and forth to the scale every single day because I like the scale had become my friend. You know what I'm saying? I was liking those numbers. So then I started feeling, just, hey, look, I cannot leave the game this big. So you start just being smart about it. And I think it's as you grow and become more of a professional, you deal with situations like your weight accordingly.
It's always interesting to me because inevitably every year, maybe not on the Titans, but some team, some player that they'll be in an interview and they'll be like, dude, what'd you do this offseason? What'd you change? Oh, I completely changed my diet. Like Kenny was saying, I got somebody cook my meals and, I stopped going through the drive-through fast food restaurants. And you're like, it's like year 5 for this guy. But just now, I wonder what it is that guys think, oh my gosh, I'm losing a step. Maybe I do need to do these dietary things.
Burgers taste so good.
We've been through that.
Catfish tastes so good.
Catfish is delicious.
Fried chicken.
Oh my gosh. Especially if somebody's grandma makes it.
So good.
See, we're just sending them all back down the path. But I'm always shocked when a veteran guy is like, this year I thought I'd start eating healthy. And I'm thinking, what were you eating up until now?
Well, if you're
eating like a kid.
Yes.
If you're Chad Ochocinco, you're eating McDonald's every day.
Well, he said he still does that.
Oh, hold on a second now. Time out. I know a guy that performed an experiment where that's all he ate was McDonald's, and he lost 80 pounds. You want to know how he did it? He only ate half of whatever it was that he ordered. Like if he ordered a McMuffin meal, he only ate half of it and threw the rest of it away. And he did that 3 meals a day, every day, and lost 80 pounds.
Did he write a book or something? Surely he had to profit in some way.
He's on, I think he's on YouTube or Instagram, one of those two.
I mean, that could be a lesson to all of us. Maybe don't eat everything.
Oh, he gets hate mail too now. He gets hate mail because they're saying you're promoting eating crappy processed food. But he just showed basically, hey, look, it's about your portions.
Well, I mean, it is about your portions. Speaking of portions and decisions, Brian Callahan today spoke about a bunch of stuff, and we're going to get to as much of it as we can in these final segments of the show. And again, you can sound off 615-737-1045. We've got tickets to give away at the end of this segment, so hold tight. But Callahan talked about Will Levis and maybe not taming the beast, Joseph. We were listening at the same time, but getting him to harness his... This guy goes hard, but he's a quarterback. He has to protect himself. There has to be some measure of just harnessing that in the right ways. But you had written this down as Callahan on Will Levis recklessness, but this is the coach talking about the quarterback.
You never want to coach away somebody's edge, and he's got that. And he plays a very competitive, tough, and physical brand of football at the quarterback position, which I appreciate. And there's a lot of ways quarterbacks can show their toughness. The one that I prefer not to see a lot of is lowering shoulders and jumping over defenders and all that. There's a place, we got to win a game, and he's shown that he's willing to put his body on the line to win a game, which is appreciated. Guys respect that in the locker room. But he also has to know that he shoulders a lot of the franchise and his ability to stay healthy and play for 16, 17, 22 games is an important part of it. So there's a balance. Again, I don't want to coach his edge out, but there's a balance of knowing what your health means to the team and the organization, and when and where to show that toughness. And so that's a maturity thing. Guys learn how to do that. You take one or two good hits, you learn real quick that you probably don't want to take a lot of them. And so I think he's well aware of that, and those are things that we work on and talk about over the course of the offseason program.
Hearing him talk about a quarterback who would put his body on the line or put his shoulder into somebody, or who was tough, and who does that sound like? Mm-hmm. What quarterback here does that sound like?
Yeah, I remember Peyton Manning take a shot at Steve because he was oft injured when they were co-MVPs. He said, well, how can he be
MVP if he doesn't play all the games? Are you and me the only people who remember that? I've brought that up to people, Brad, and nobody remembers.
I remember it.
I remember it.
Yeah.
I thought I dreamed it.
No, you didn't dream it.
Okay, I've literally asked people.
Did we just become best friends?
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
I have asked people, do you remember in his speech, they asked Steve about what's it like to share with Peyton. He said, what an honor to share with a guy like Peyton Manning. And they asked Peyton Manning about sharing it with Steve, and he said, I thought you had to play all the games.
Yeah, let me take a swipe at him. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, Peyton was smart. He was a three-step drop king because he didn't want to get that contact. Now, admittedly, he had later on some really good tackles like Tarek Glenn, players like that to protect him. Mm-hmm. But he was, maybe in his first few years, he was eating helmets. So he learned the art of survival, which was to get this pigskin out of his hand. And I think that's kind of what Callahan is talking, Callie is talking about. Will Levis taking that next step to understand, when to fight City Hall. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's like if the game's on the line and you need to leave your feet to get that first down because we're just yards away from getting it into the red zone, then brother, do your thing.
Yep.
But if it's like the middle of a game and something silly, like you could just simply step out of bounds versus getting that extra 1 or 2 yards and get your shoulder broken because the guy blew you up before you got out of bounds, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
You see, so he's asking him to be smart about it. But like he said, he doesn't want him thinking in those moments like, oh, should I take it? Should I take it? Or just, am I instinctually going to plow this dude over to get that extra yard and show you what these things feel like? You know what I'm saying?
It is the gun show with him, too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's tight end sized.
Yeah.
I had a coach tell me this once. Hey, man, I'd rather have a guy learn how to say whoa than have a guy that I've got to tell to go. I
like that. Say it again.
He said, I'd rather tell you whoa than go.
Tell a guy go,
yeah. Because go is hard to coach. Whoa means this guy. This guy's giving everything he's got. I'd rather tell him whoa than tell him go.
I like that.
But I know how you guys feel about your quarterback because enough of you I've gotten to know because I'm lucky enough to have this job, and I got to know you, and I got to know Dyson. I get to work with Blaine. I know a bunch of you guys. I hear how you talk about Steve. But Levis is one of those guys who, if it means I've just got to go out a linebacker because we need a half a yard, I'm going to go do it. you want him to be smart. Like you said, maybe pick your spots. If it's the fourth quarter and there's a minute and a half left, maybe you got to go do it. But in the first quarter, maybe don't go try to challenge a linebacker.
Like when you throw an interception at the goal line, don't try and tackle a 300-pound man with your shoulder when he's already in the end zone.
Yeah, I see that. But you can also see the competitor to him who wants to make up for his mistake.
Yep.
So we can see, the dog in the fight, but sometimes it's not necessary to bite. Woo!
There's another drop right there. A man of many words, putting them all together well. But it's going to be interesting to see how he develops there, because he's a very emotional guy. He can be very emotional, and you can see it on the sidelines. His helmet comes off, his face is all red.
Yeah, flustered.
And he and D-Hop had, which people made it, there were people who talked about that a lot when they kind of had their back and forth. That doesn't, if you're in a group with anybody, sometimes in the heat of a game, I've never had two guys who played football at a very high level. It's like, oh no, sometimes we yelled at each other because we're just trying to get our point.
Absolutely.
That didn't bother me at all.
Warren Moon yelled at me in the huddle when I was a rookie. I wanted to punch him in the mouth.
Oh, what did he say?
He told me to shut up in this huddle, Rook. I wasn't even one talking.
Yeah, he had to show his leadership.
You can still feel my angst, can't you? I'm so mad at him. Haywood Jeffries.
You're like,
running his mouth, and Warren looked at me and told me to shut up. I was like, what? And guess who stopped me from clapping back? Munch.
Did he step on your foot?
He just held my arm. He was like,
oh, he did?
Bruh, just let it go, dude. Learn to win the fight, City Hall. And at that time, I didn't need to clap back at Warren Moon in the huddle. Well, it was practice, mind you, but still. When I wasn't even the culprit.
For people who trying to contextualize this, maybe you're new to town, you moved here yesterday, you're an alien, you just landed on Earth. So Brad was an Oiler and a Titan for 13 years, long-time starting left tackle, always a starting left tackle. But when you get to Houston and you're in the huddle, Warren Moon is the guy telling you to shut up. That's a Hall of Famer. Munchak is Hall of Famer. He's holding your arm saying, just hold on. Then somewhere is Bruce Matthews.
Yeah, he was snapping.
He's somewhere in this huddle with you. Yeah. You're just surrounded by Hall of Fame. And honestly, there are other guys on that team who really deserve a lot more accolades than what they've got.
Absolutely. I mean, that team was laden with talent. And that's why Bud said, hey, if we don't get here this year in 93, I'm blowing it up. Next thing you know, Warren's a Viking, and everybody else is playing someplace else.
Well, and magically enough, I guess Munch was close to the end of his career there, but you and Bruce go on and stay together, wind up here together, playing a Super Bowl together.
Yeah, that's what linemen do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what a lot of people are hoping now, that there can be some continuity. All right, we've been promising you this. Let's do this. Callahan on Boyd, then we can finish the show with Callahan on Treylon Burks' role. But again, Callie, we're like that. We're nickname basis now. Brian Callahan spoke earlier today. A lot of people anxious to hear about this new wide receiver addition. I don't know if we have the whole soundbite, but he's like, well, he's not here yet. So, well, anyway, here's what he's going to do. So this is Callahan on Boyd. Addition to the team.
It's not official yet. Hasn't signed the papers in general, just to put that out there to start. That'll be official sooner than later, but not quite yet. But Tyler is a slot receiver. That's what he does. That's where he's made his money. That's where his production has come from. He's a fantastic slot receiver on top of it. Most importantly, I think he's a awesome addition to the locker room. He's a great human being. Great worker, and everything about him is what we want to be about. And so to add him is really is an impactful add for us, and excited about it.
I don't think anybody doubted what his role was, but I think this is something maybe we wouldn't have heard from the previous administration. Vrabel was kind of reluctant to talk about guys who weren't official. They hadn't announced a signing yet, and I thought, he's going to be, hey, we'll talk about him when he gets here. He's like, anyway, he's a slot receiver, and we can't wait to get him here. Was it later on, I believe Levis said, I look forward to learning the offense from him.
Right.
That was, at one point, Will Levis, who spoke later on, said, oh, my gosh, I can't, do you have that? Will Levis was talking about Boyd and essentially said, I can't wait to learn the offense from this guy. This is from earlier today.
Yeah, no, I mean, they need to help me. I need to help them. And I think, especially with TV, I texted him. I was like, I can't wait to learn the offense from you. it's cool to be able to watch the tape and all these cut-ups and him balling out and making all these plays and, on the teach tape running these routes exactly like how we're telling everyone else to. So
that's cool. The teach tape.
Yeah.
And it's actually the guy that you're actually throwing balls to is the one that's actually showing you how to run the route and how to be productive in this situation. Not only does he have a great example in Joe Burrow as someone to try and emulate in an offense where they have to kind of do some similar things, you've also got one of the targets that was making that a tape, in Tyler Boyd. So it is an unbelievable opportunity for him to learn the offense from a different perspective.
Let's do this. Let's take our final break of the show. We'll come back. Callahan on Burks' role, because a lot of you wondered, okay, Boyd is here. What does that mean for Burks? They've continued to add talent. What does this mean for Burks? We haven't seen much of Burks. He's been injured. What does all this mean for Burks? So let's hear about the future of Mr. Burks. Let's hear what his head coach thinks. We will close up shop with that today. But before we do that, Joseph says it's time to give away these tickets. We're giving away tickets to all my favorite stuff through our friends at Window Nation. The Window Nation ticket window is open, but you got to be caller 5 to win now. 2 tickets to a participating Concert Week show. Thanks to Live Nation, Concert Week is back. Our crew at the Zone here is excited to partner with them, with Live Nation, to promote it. $25 pick a ticket offer for select shows at Bridgestone Arena, FedEx Forum, Ascend Amphitheater, First Bank Amphitheater. Lots of cool stuff coming up. You need to get ready for Live Nation's Concert Week, on sale May 8th through 14. Again, $25 concert comedy tickets to over 5,000 shows. That's up to 75% off, but you can win a couple of them. Caller 5 now, 617-337-1045.
There are a lot of diagnoses out there, and there's a pill for everything. But not all diagnoses are accurate, and not all pills are good for you. Well, hey, it's Blaine Bishop. And when you get a diagnosis for your European auto repair, get a second opinion before you make a major decision. And Eurofix is the home of second opinions. Before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on European vehicle repair from a diagnosis, go to Eurofix. It could not only save your vehicle's life, but could actually save you from a lot of stress that ruins your weekend. Life's too short, get stressed out, and dang, you're angry. Well, be happy and go to Eurofix. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. Not high-pressure sales tactics, right? Well, at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And at Eurofix, you never pay dealer pricing. All you have to do is go check them out, from Franklin to Hundred Oaks to Murfreesboro to Belmead and now Mount Juliet. All you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always don't blame you.
Don't stop believing. That's what Steve Perry said. You know what's crazy? No. Journey is one of the greatest examples of this. This was not their biggest charting song, not even close. They had other songs that were bigger hits than this. But this is like a top 10 rock and roll song all time. It didn't make number one. I think it was number 9. They had other songs that charted higher. They're one of the few bands that their biggest charting song was not their biggest hit.
Yeah, because this song has become symbolic.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's one of those.
Took on a different meaning.
A different meaning. It's bigger than a rock song at this point. It's a cultural touchstone to people, that song. Yeah. We had Jonathan Cain on once, the keyboard player for Journey, and he was in the building. He was talking to, I guess, WTN, and they said, there's a guy down the hall, a big music guy. Will you talk to him? He's like, sure. He walks in there. We're like, well, we're a sports talk station, but I'm a musician.
Yeah.
Brady sat down and did a long, couple of segments with us. And he said, you want to hear the story about Don't Stop Believing? I said, yeah. He said, and we got time to play this audio. I haven't forgotten. He said, I was in a school fire. I grew up in Chicago, and there were a lot of lives lost, but he lived through it. And he said his dad always told him, you're meant for a bigger purpose. Don't stop believing. Don't stop believing. And he joined Journey. He was in a band called The Babies. And even if you think, I don't know them, you'd know some of their songs. They toured with Journey. Greg Raleigh left Journey. They asked him to join. They knew him. They're recording Escape, which will become their biggest album. They need one more song. The producer says, anybody got anything? He said, I got this idea. Don't stop believing. So he and Steve Perry, the singer, Neil Sean, the guitar player, they finished that song. The rest is history. But he was new to the band. He just showed up with that.
That is so eloquent, given the fact that song is so inspiring, that it would have a message that was formed from a tragedy.
Yeah.
Mickey, I always pick the bump music, whether or not I play a game myself, whether or not you're going to do a great transition from whatever it was saying in the song or give us a musical history lesson. Today was a musical history lesson.
Well, and that was Jonathan Cain, kind enough to share some of his time with us on this radio station. We need to find that, put it back out sometime. It was amazing talking to him. Brian Callahan, he shared some of his time with the media today. He was just as gracious as once Jonathan Cain was. And Treylon Burks fans never stop believing, including Ron Slay, that he's going to do great things for this team. So he's trying to be inspired by this song. There's your transition even. But what did Callahan say, Callie, about Treylon Burks' role? Because he was asked about the new addition of Boyd, and then he started talking about the receiver room. He mentioned Treylon Burks. What did the head coach say about the role currently for Treylon Burks going into his third year with the Tennessee Titans?
As far as Treylon's role, he's going to play everything. We've told him that from the beginning. He's going to play inside. He's going to play outside, and he's going to carve out a role for himself. And I had him come up today and do the break after practice because his work that he's put in has been really impressive. Just to give you guys some context. You know, Tuesdays are our harder days of our 4-day work week. It's a really heavy day, and so the load on the players is high. And what I mean by that is both acceleration, max speeds, and yardage. And so Treylon, I think, ran 3,591 yards on Tuesday, and then hit our top speed and team-leading top speed at 22.6 miles an hour in practice. So super impressive workload and performance. And so he's had a really good offseason. I'm excited about what he can bring for us. I meant when I said that the other day that I think he's going to have a role to play.
And what will that role be now that Boyd is here, Brad? The coach also answered that question.
I wouldn't say there's a diminished role of any sort. We've made very clear to Treylon that the signing of Tyler is not about him. It's about helping our team get better, adding better players to our team, making us a competitive football team. And what he's done and how he's worked has been great. And I'm anticipating him still being able to play a good role for us. And look, you got to have guys that can step in and play. You got to have guys that play roles. And that hasn't changed. It doesn't change anything for Treylon as far as what we're expecting from him and what I'm hopeful that he's able to bring to the offense. So we communicated that to him and made sure he was aware. And it's not about him. It's about making our team better, making our receiving core more competitive, adding more depth to our team in general.
First-round pick, he was 18th overall. In 2 years here, Brad, he played 11 games. Then he played 11 games again, 665 yards on 49 catches, 1 touchdown receiving. He recovered a fumble. So he scored a couple of touchdowns. Another one was where he hustled down and recovered a fumble in the end zone. So 1 receiving touchdown for him. He remains a really curious storyline for a lot of people who follow this team.
Yeah, I'm getting shades of Mike McDaniel from Brian Callahan, because this is a guy that is connected on so many different levels with the players that he coaches. And for him to understand and communicate that to Treylon, that, hey, look, it's not about your deficiencies. It's not about pointing fingers at you as far as where we thought you should be developed. We're doing these things to make sure that we give this team the best chance to win. Okay, and that might sound like coach speak, because that's what you're supposed to say. But think of how much pressure that took off of a guy that comes into this season because of these additions, seems to be experiencing the most pressure. Mm-hmm. Get out there and perform, or they're going to move on from you. And the only reason why we're saying this is because you were picked with the first pick of the draft by the Titans. That's why you get that pressure. But I think that Brian Callahan, just acknowledging the fact that this might be, some of the scenario that Treylon is pondering. You know what I mean? He's saying, it ain't about you.
Right.
So just go out there and play. Go out there and play loose. Be the guy that you know that you can be. And we're going to just let the chips fall where they may. It's okay. It's not about you. We didn't make these decisions because we were like, man, Treylon stinks. So let's make sure we get Calvin, and we'll make sure that we'll get, good Lord.
Boyd.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd. Get him in the building. You know what I'm saying? Because of you. Because of you.
And Levis,
it's not like that.
Levis kind of hit on that towards one of his later answers in his press conference, because I think he was asked like the relationship between him and Callahan, and he was like, "Well, he's not necessarily my friend, but he comes to me and he asks us like what we think, and he talks to us, and he's there for us when we need him to be, without just being a friend or just being a coach."
Yeah.
Well, you all are our friends, and we're going to coach you through one more show this week as well as we can. Tomorrow, live at DBAT in Murfreesboro. If you're anywhere close, come see us. Amazing baseball, softball training facility. We'll be hanging out there all afternoon along with 3HL. But it is time for 3HL to get you the rest of the way home today.
But in the meantime,
in between time,
peace.